Hello and welcome to Kids Corner. Sir Winston and I are back in the kitchen because we're going to decorate some eggs for Easter. Tie-dye Easter eggs. And so what we're going to need is some eggs that we're going to make into hard-boiled eggs, food coloring. You're going to need paper towel or paper napkins, an elastic or twist ties, a spray bottle with some water, rubber gloves, and make sure you're wearing something to protect your clothes as this could get a little messy. We're going to start by making hard-boiled eggs. So I have taken my pot and put water in, and I'm going to make 2 hard-boiled eggs. And so you could make this in 2, or put them in 2 stages. That is, by filling the pot about a quarter with water, putting in the eggs, and then putting in enough water to cover the eggs by about that much, an inch or 2.5 centimeters. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the stove to a rolling boil. And this is where my stove, once I turn that rolling boil off, there's no heat left in the burner. If your stove keeps heat in the burner, once it hits a rolling boil, you can turn it off, put on the cover, and wait about 12 minutes. If you have a stove like mine, an induction or propane, you need to simmer it on low for another minute after you get that rolling boil, then turn it off. So we're turning it on and we're starting to cook our eggs. Well, our eggs have been on the stove for the right amount of time, so now we're going to carefully drain the water out and refill with cold water so the eggs will stop cooking and cool off. So after our eggs cooled off, we'll be able to move on to do the tie-dyeing of them. Well, Sir Winston and I are back. Our eggs have cooled, and actually we already started to tape it and we had a little accident. So we're going to change a few things on the basis of what we learned. And one of those things is we're going to put our rubber gloves on before we start working on the dye, because you can see that our hands are sort of colorful and we have already washed them several times. So what you're going to need to do is to take your egg, hold it upright, and you want to take a piece of paper towel. I think will work better or better than the napkin that we had, because the napkin, once it got a little wet, didn't hold well and our egg dropped into the sink and cracked. So when you get it all pulled up, you need to fasten it, whether with an elastic or a twist tie at the top. Our elastic is rather large, so we've got to put several loops in it. And unfortunately, napkin doesn't quite cover as much as we would like, but if we use a bigger part, it seems to come apart where the perforation is. So the next thing we're going to do is put on our rubber gloves. So I've got my rubber gloves on, and what I'm going to do is hold my egg at the top, hold it over a newspaper that's a little softer than the sink, and I'm going to take my food coloring and I'm going to put dots of food coloring around where my egg is. And you'll see that it'll spread. I pick up my blue and put some dots on it. And the green. And you want to try to leave some white space around, and you want to make sure you can get in at the top. Now you can see it can be challenging where you've got a couple of different layers, and maybe we'll sneak in a little bit more color. There, we've got maybe a little area there that didn't have some color. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to take our squirt bottle. Now this has just water in it, but you could have a 50-50 mixture of water and vinegar. And you're going to try to squirt in the middle some of the dye so that the dye will run. The more water you put on it, the lighter the dye will be. And this time I'm going to hold it. Last time I just sort of held it at the top, and as the napkin got light or wet, it got weak and the egg dropped right down to the sink. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hold it carefully over by the sink, and you're going to squeeze it to see if there's any water that's going to drip, and to squeeze it in close to the egg. And then what you're going to do, you can put it in a container, and in this case I've chosen glass because it won't stain, and I'm going to put it in the fridge overnight, and we'll see what it'll look like tomorrow. Hello, we're back. Sir Winston and I have been waiting very anxiously. The egg has been in the fridge overnight. We've brought it out, let it warm up a little, because sometimes it's hard to tell if it is dry or if it is just cold. And so now we're getting ready to open it up. So let's take it out, and we're going to undo all those twists that we put in with the elastic. It looks very colorful on the outside, so here comes the moment of truth. Here we are, our tie-dye egg. And it's got sort of little impressions. Let Sir Winston hold it here. From this. But this is really colorful, and that's something that maybe we can think of another craft we could make. It might look nice to cut it as a butterfly, or maybe a flower, or maybe even if you've made several of these, you could use it to outline a basket to put them in. Now, once you finish them, you probably should keep them in the fridge and eat them within 5 days. Sir Winston and I just unwrapped the other one that we had started, the one that we had smashed on the end, and it reminded us to let you know that it's possible for the dye to come through and dye the whites or just the outside of your egg. It's still fine, perfectly safe to eat, but don't be surprised if it might happen. So I hope you enjoyed making it. Shall we have a little prayer together? If you could bow your heads and repeat after me. Loving God, thank you for the world around us. Help us to be kind to others and to your world. Amen. And we'll see you next time at Kids Corner.